Hello and welcome to the Autistic Experience, an autism and ADHD podcast for those of us with our ears turned up to 11. My name is Kieran, as always joined by Chloe.
Yes.
Good to know, just checking. It is the 26th of May 2024 as this goes out, so we're almost in June, so the heat waves, they are a-coming. Yeah,
that's all I have to say, actually.
We don't need to talk about them.
Talk to them.
Oi, heat wave.
Yeah.
Get out of here. You're not wanted. Where was I? Oh, yeah, the intro. You can also go follow the show on Instagram at The Autistic Experience, where we've got all your different listening options. So if you're, for example, listening on Google Podcasts at the moment, that is shutting down quite soon, at least in the UK. So if you're wanting to try and find something else to listen on, then we've got all your options there. But for now, let's get into the show, which is basically just us chatting about the last 2 weeks to find something worthwhile talking about to link to the altogether autistic and ADHD experience.
Just enjoy to find something worthwhile talking about.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, is that not what podcasts are about?
Yeah, but I mean, it's a challenge to find something worthwhile to talk about.
Yeah, that's why we need 2 weeks now to gather enough things to be worth talking about. But what we did last week.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It is now last week.
Yeah. Is we went off to the theatre to go see Mischief's Mind Mangler.
Yes.
Which, if you don't know what Mischief is, it's a production troupe who did The Play That Goes Wrong and the TV show, The Show That Goes Wrong. That's what it was called.
Yeah.
And they're touring at the moment with Peter Pan Goes Wrong and also Mind Mangler, and they're still doing a run of The Play That Goes Wrong in the West End in London. So we went to go see Peter Pan Goes Wrong a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I lose track of
probably
when that
more than a
was.
Couple of weeks ago, but yeah,
It was a while
recently.
back, yeah. But yeah, we went to go see Mind Mangler, which is a magic, supposedly magic show. Yeah, it's a magic show that goes wrong. Yeah, basically
humorous magic show.
Yeah. So it's like a magic show that goes wrong, but also actually uses, magic.
Yeah.
Illusions, anyway.
Illusion.
Mm-hmm. So obviously we're not going to spoil anything from there if you're wanting to go see it, or if you've got tickets to go see it. We're not going to talk about anything that actually happens in the show.
Other than it's very good.
Other than that it was very good. What we're going to be talking about is what was happening in the row behind us during the show. So when we got there, actually this is an interesting thing to talk about anyway, because when we got there, we got our tickets like a while back, and I got them for like the grand tier, which is like right up at the top. There are 3 layers. This is the top tier, top level of the cake. The theatre cake, yeah, that's it. Top level of the theatre cake. And we've gotten onto the front row of that. And those are basically the same spots we had for Hamilton back in January.
Yeah.
And we were like, it's steep, but we quite like it there.
Yeah.
However, when we got to the theatre itself, they said, oh, there are not many people up on the top. So we've shifted you all downstairs, and they used the word upgraded your seat.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a bit bizarre because they said, oh, the best seats we could give you were these ones in row K or whatever it was, or J. But then there were loads and loads of empty seats in front of us in the first, 6 rows. So I don't know why they put everyone so far back.
I don't know. Also, right over to the left on the other side,
yeah,
there were loads
was
of
really
seats
empty
as well. But yeah, that kind of threw us off quite a lot because we were like, yeah, but we chose the seats we wanted. That's why we got those. I don't care if these are technically more expensive seats. We wanted to be there. so we could lean over a balcony and not have anyone in front of us.
Yeah, I was quite miffed about the seat moving thing
Yeah.
because it's like we just got there and out of nowhere they say, "Oh, you've got to move seats."
And like, hey, change your plans.
Yeah, and we're like, well, why did you let us book it in the first place then? Or if we knew, then we could have booked better seats on the tier below. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't tell you when you get
remember
in the door.
they only decided to do that when it became apparent, like probably the day of, that because you can still buy tickets for the show, like walking up probably, but it became evident that they didn't have enough audience members to kind of fill all of it.
Yeah.
So it's not like they would ever just stop people buying tickets for the top row at all, would they?
No.
Like in the months beforehand.
I think the main thing that annoyed me was like we'd intentionally booked tickets to be at the front, and then the way that they operated it on the evening was kind of as people that had booked for the grand tier arrived, they allocated the best seats in order of arrival.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but we booked the front row, so why can't we then be given the frontmost seats on the tier below? Because we booked the front row. So then just because we don't arrive first, we now have to sit behind like loads of other people. It just, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of silly.
I mean, it wasn't that big of a deal in the end because we could still see everything, and it wasn't like it was too obscured in front of us.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of view, it was fine, but and you wouldn't have had this issue, but there was no knee room at all. Like, I was sat as far back in my seat as possible, and my knees were still touching the seat in front of me.
Yeah. I felt like we were really close to the people either side as well. I don't know what you thought, but like I felt like I was squished in between you and the lady to my right.
Yeah.
I was really like squinched up,
Very
trying not
squished
to
in,
touch her. Like,
but I mean, that's why it was nice in Hamilton, because we were in that front row. So even though it was like right at the top, we could stick our feet out.
Yeah.
And it was quite nice.
Yeah. The troubles of the autistics going to the theatre.
Yeah, well, to be continued.
Yeah.
But yeah, that just shows that like the whole, when plans change, it just threw us off, didn't it?
Yeah, I really did feel like it started the whole thing off on a bit of a weird foot. And going into the kind of theatre and finding the seats, and then it just felt really loud, and like I was definitely kind of not in a peaceful place when we first went in. Like I needed time to settle down.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help that I forgot my earplugs.
Yeah.
I've got like 3 sets of them, forgot all of them.
Once the show started, it was all a little bit better, but there was a whole other thing that went on throughout that.
We're going to come on to that now, I think. So, as we're all very well aware, one of the sensory issues we can have is around, very sensitive ears. And, noise can get really grating, and it drills inside our minds. However, one of the other things we can do as like autistic ADHD people is when we get excited, get super loud and not really have any idea that we are being super loud. And wouldn't you know it, right behind us, we had at least one, probably 3 autistic people.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think one of them especially, like the other 2 weren't nearly as bad, but like one of them especially was basically shouting their head off and being just super exuberant. And what were they even talking about? It was like in the break, I think it was Magic the Gathering. It was something along those lines.
Yeah, something very stereotypical.
Yeah, but just incredibly loud.
Yeah.
And their laughter was like, what did I describe it as afterwards?
Like a mating peacock or
something
wasn't
like
it? It was very kind of cackly, and like it sounded very exaggerated. And I know you can't help how you laugh, but they were just like other people in rows in front of us, I noticed, were turning round and looking at times to see who was doing it with like weird looks on their faces. Because it was a bit excessive.
Yeah,
like.
I mean, laughter, you can like understand. It's a comedy thing. You can't help how you laugh. Just ask Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
But I think all the times around that, the amount they were talking and the volume to which they were talking,
Yeah.
it is just a bit of a difficult paradox that a lot of us have issues with noise being too loud, and yet when we get excited, we can go, you know what? I'm going to turn my voice up to 11 as well.
Yeah. It's kind of a weird situation that I think our minds have this sort of like internal set of rules for what is and isn't appropriate in certain social situations. And if people break those internal rules that we have, then we get really mad at them. But then if it's the other way around and like we're kind of pushing them a little bit or breaking them, then it's not as bad. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes like say if you're going to see something and you wanna kind of shove to the front and get a view. If somebody pushed in front of me or was standing in front of me and blocking my view, I would probably be annoyed because I couldn't see. But if I was at the front and I was kind of blocking somebody else, I'd be like, I don't care.
Yeah, but
I've
you're
come to
like
see this
5'2". Whose view are you going to block?
Yeah, but you know the point. It's like it's kind of a weird sort of double standard that we have, that when we do something it's okay, but when somebody else does it, it's not. That's kind of...
I think that's just human nature.
Maybe. But there's definitely like an internal set of rules that we have for things like, if somebody plays something kind of noisily on their phone on public transport, I get really, really angry at them and think they're an idiot. Whereas most other people, I don't think really care too much.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Like, well, not to the level that I care. Or like if you're at the theatre and you're talking really loud or shouting or like making jokes from the audience during the performance, that annoys me because I'm like, just watch the show. We're here to watch the show. Be quiet. So yeah, it was kind of like, because they were being quite loud and talking quite loud, it was almost like they were disrupting what I thought was appropriate for the theatre. Because they were like, anything that they found remotely funny, as soon as there was a break, like an interval or like at the end of the show, they would just like repeat the joke about 7 times between themselves and just like start shouting things about the show. And it's like I understand, but also you're kind of making a bit of a meal out of it now and ruining the joke. Do you know what I mean? But
well, I think we can preface this by saying I'm glad they had a good time.
Yeah, and it's more kind of interesting, and it's good to be aware of how people, I think, process things differently.
I think it's the case that because there were 3 of them together, if they're all autistic, then they probably are much more comfortable in each other's company than they would be if they went by themselves or with someone who wasn't autistic. In which case, they're kind of the barriers we put up around ourselves to make ourselves seem a bit more normal. We don't need those when we're with other people who are like us and who get us. So it's like a kind of a group force field.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good thing. And it's good that, like, one of them had like a fidget toy as well. And, it's nice that people can find a way to kind of go to these things and have it be, I don't want to say bearable, but maybe even enjoyable. But yeah, it just shows like the range, doesn't it, of people, and the fact that we can be 2 people who are autistic ADHD sitting just one row in front of another group of people who are, we think, autistic. And
I don't think we need to go we think.
are probably autistic, and we can have such different like responses to the same thing, or such different ways of behaving.
Well, that's the thing, all of our brains are different anyway.
Yeah.
And the way our brains develop are particularly interesting.
Yeah.
And theirs have developed in evidently quite a different way to ours.
Mm-hmm.
So I think part of it, is also that one of the things with autism is that we do tend to not adhere to societal norms, and we can just behave what other people class as strangely.
Yeah.
So if we were doing it in the theatre, we probably wouldn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
So it's fair to assume that they probably didn't think anything of it. They probably also had earplugs in, so they weren't aware of how loud they were being.
Maybe.
And they have to shout because there's, all sorts of other babbling going on, so they can't hear themselves, they can't hear each other.
I feel like also, I don't know whether this would be the case for them, because I don't want to assume, but I think it's definitely the case for me that sometimes if I'm in an environment that I'm uncomfortable in, I can get more like loud and energetic, almost as like a masking sort of defense mechanism. It's like if I pretend to be this person who is very outgoing and very confident, then I won't feel overwhelmed and intimidated by this environment. So it could also be partially down to that as well. You never know.
Yeah, so I think what I want to try and get at is that even though, they were super loud, they could have been a lot quieter or more aware of their surroundings. We know what it's like to be told, oh, you need to be more aware of your surroundings, or you need to behave in a more appropriate manner.
If I had a dime for every time I was told to be more aware of my surroundings.
It'd still be useless because we live in the UK. But what I want to try and get at is that we need to understand that, especially with ourselves being like autistic and ADHD, in that even though they were too loud for us, we kind of need to just be on their side and go, yeah, that's fine. You're enjoying yourself. We understand why you're doing it. It might not have been our cup of tea. It's not the way we would behave, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, more people need to do that generally.
Yeah, and like if the person is if they had earplugs in, if they brought their fidget toy, that's their way of coping with going out. And if that's the most they can do, then that's absolutely fine.
And it's like he said, if other autistic people can't necessarily like accept it and be on their side, then how are people who are not autistic supposed to do it?
Yeah, we've got to show solidarity.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say, it was annoying, it was irritating, but it was kind of that sort of internal irritation that I understand in myself. I know why it irritates me. And so I would never kind of express it. I would never like criticize them for doing it. I just kind of keep it. It's just there. It's in my brain. It's like a thing. And it didn't ruin anything.
No,
it
exactly.
didn't affect anything.
Like we still had a nice time.
Yeah. It was just like, I'm aware that there's certain things like them being noisy that irritates me. The same way as like people rustling bags of crisps was irritating me. But it's just a thing that happens. And I just ignore it, basically.
Yeah, and I think, like, I know that had I remembered my earplugs, it wouldn't have been an issue to me.
Yeah.
Had you brought some slightly heavier duty ones, you would have been okay as well.
Yeah.
So, not to put this kind of also just on us, but there are those ways in which we have to cope with the same situations, and it just so happens we kind of forgot about them.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing trying to go out and do a thing when there's other people around.
Yeah, it's like walking through a swarm of bees and going, I really should have brought my beekeeper outfit.
Yeah, genuinely.
No wonder we're getting stung.
It's hard for anybody, and that kind of environment is hard for anybody that's autistic as well, because it was loud. I thought the music was really loud as well, and everybody talking was getting quite a lot before the show. It wasn't just them, it was everybody around that was really loud as well.
It's
and
just they happen to be directly behind us.
yeah, and that can be a lot. So if you need to kind of have your people around and maybe be loud yourself as like a defensive thing, then that's what you got to do. But I think at the end of the day, like there's ways for everybody to go and kind of enjoy these things.
Yeah. I mean, just bear in mind also that they were, aside from the super loud laughter, they were fine during the actual performance.
Yeah.
They weren't talking during that.
No, they were good. But then everybody was loud during the breaks.
Yeah.
So the whole environment was also quite a lot to deal with, which probably amplified them a little bit as well. But yeah, I think it's good to be reminded that just because people are autistic doesn't mean that you're just like you're autistic and you're one kind of group of people.
It doesn't mean they're going to behave in the exact same way.
Exactly. It's like you have differences, different things bother you. You can cope different ways. You respond to things different ways, and the same way as people who are not autistic. And it's just good to be reminded of that and good to be aware of that, I think.
So, yeah, we had a good time. We would definitely recommend Mind Mangler.
Yes, it was very good.
But I think that's all we wanted to talk about as far as our trip to the theatre goes. The moral of the story is remember earplugs.
Yeah, basically. And I just want to say that I think the most annoying part of my evening at the theatre was the people on the tram who decide to get on the tram and then stand right in that area, right next to the doors, so that nobody else can possibly get on or off, even though there's loads of space down the carriages. That's the thing that annoys me the most. And I'm imagining that man in his leather jacket. Yeah. he was my least favourite person of the night. I mean, I feel like we should also do a little bit of a welcome message here for our new friend.
Yeah, I was going to come on to that.
Oh, after. Okay.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Well, just in a quick other news before we wrap up this episode, we have a new foster guinea pig.
We do.
Woo! After all the babies have moved on.
Ugh. Yeah. In various different ways.
Forms. We have a new foster guinea pig. Have we decided on the name?
Yeah, I think I liked the name.
Yeah, so we've decided to change her name from the name she came into the house with.
Yeah, because her original name was Tracy.
Which is not a guinea pig's name.
I just can't cope with that.
That's the name of a middle-aged woman in payroll who spends too long at the water cooler and judges every single other person's lunch because hers has a very slightly fewer calories in it.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not having Tracy.
And is also trying to put cucumbers into the water cooler.
Oh, God. No.
So, yeah, we're changing her name from that to Nutmeg. We're going to go for.
Yeah, I think she's got a nice colouring to have a spicy name. So we've gone for a spice.
And and we're keeping an eye on her because there is a also fairly decent probability she is also pregnant. So keep an eye on the space, but by the time of next episode, we might have a slightly more definitive answer as to whether we're getting more baby guinea pigs.
Like, it's very exciting, but it's also like...
Here we go again.
Like, I mean, they should be easier than the last ones, because I think the last ones had every single problem under the sun. But it's still like, can I wrangle that many babies again? And I mean, to be fair, we're looking at going on our next holiday in kind of November time. And if she is pregnant, then we'll probably have any babies for about 3 months. So
we should be fine.
Yeah, but I'm just thinking, would it be timed well for a post-baby break?
I think so, yeah.
And I think it would.
Because if we'd be looking at maybe end of June, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe mid-July. It could be around your birthday.
It's going to have the same birthday.
But yeah, then 3 months would be about right for adoption.
And then we can have our cool down holiday again.
Yeah.
And then get another pregnant female.
Yeah. I think that's a good pattern to be going for.
Yeah, updates will come
Mhm.
as we know more. At the moment, she's just a bit chubby on the sides. She's got a podgy belly and she's got fairly thin hair down her sides, which we've just learned is a sign of pregnancy.
Well, it can be.
Apparently, it can be a sign of pregnancy. So, yeah, we'll see. But she's a teeny girl. She's very young herself. She's probably about 6 months old.
If that.
Yeah, and I don't think she's had a very nice start, bless her. So we're going to be giving her many foods and hugs, and she's going to be a happy, spicy lady.
And with that, I think that's probably a good place to end the episode. Thanks for listening. Have you been to the theatre anytime soon? What was that like? Have you been sat in front of other autistic people who've been making a lot more noise than is ideal?
Or non-autistic people, because that happens probably fairly often as well.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, have you sat in front of people who've been making too much noise? Yes, we all have.
Are they just irritating neurotypicals who've had too much to drink? Or
Oh yeah, that's much worse. Actually, in light of that, I'm glad we had those three.
Yeah, because like neurotypical people on alcohol at the theatre.
Yeah, I would have those three over someone shouting, "Oh no, it isn't!"
Oh God, I know.
Every single time.
There was quite a few of them, or like a group of middle-aged women who have gone out for cocktails or something before the show, and they're all on the wine, and
I'm not sure they would have gone to go see Mind Mangler personally, but you never know. If you want to follow us on Instagram, that is at The Autistic Experience. New episodes of this come out every other Sunday at midday UK time, and the next episode is going to be
June now, won't it?
Yeah, I'm looking at my...
God.
The 9th of June, it should be.
How even.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Also, by the time that comes out, we'll have another concert-going experience to talk about.
Will we? Oh, is that the big one?
Big one, yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we've actually done it. No spoilers.
No spoilers, obviously.
Right.
But yeah, so in the meantime, have a good fortnight. It's getting warmer out there, so make sure to keep sun cream with you, especially if you're going outside for any particular length of time. I say this as Chloe is sunburnt in multiple places. But as usual, if the opportunity ever presents itself, and really hope it does, you go get that free lunch.
Oh, I love the free lunch. Yeah, I love the free lunch. Oh, I love my free lunch. I love my free lunch. Ooh, my free lunch. Do, do, do.